Hey guys, man, I'm so pumped with today's video. I ordered like this super duper huge thing from Amazon and it just came in a... What? What are you talking about, hun? There's a mix-up? No, let me see. What do we got? What do we got? It's just this small box. Ooh, but it's gonna be good. Hey guys, Turk here. Hope you're having a great day. You know, I wanted to do something a little bit different with the channel, and to be honest, my cell phone lately has just been acting so old, you know? It doesn't have a lot of juice towards the end of the day. It's been really sluggish and unresponsive. It's even got some cracks in the screen, and it's getting all raggedy, and man, that sounds a whole bunch like my wife. Just kidding. My Nokia 7.1 has been my trusty daily driver ever since November of 2018, and I just couldn't pony up the big bucks when it comes to flagship phones, and I really think the mid-range is where it's at when it comes to a balance between performance and value. And I've been an Android user for the past, decade or so, so it makes complete sense to go ahead and pick up the Google Pixel 4a cell phone, and today we're going to be doing that review. I'm going to talk about the technical specs, we're going to talk about the performance from the CPU and the GPU, show you guys some pictures, some videos, and just give you my honest impressions on what it's like to use this phone from a day-to-day basis for the past week or so. Looking at the spec sheet, the Google 4a doesn't look that much more impressive when compared to the Nokia 7.1. Both phones are powered by the Qualcomm Snapdragon processors, with the Nokia sporting an 1800 MHz clock with the Snapdragon 636, while the Google Pixel 4a is going to have the new 730 version, but it clocks all the way up to 2200 MHz. It'll be really interesting to see how much better that extra 400 MHz actually helps the Google phone in this case. The Adreno line is going to be powering the graphics processors on both of these units, and what's weird is they're both going to be running right at around 700 MHz, but if you dig a little deeper into the spec sheet, the Google Pixel 4a is going to have probably twice as many ALUs or graphical units than compared to the Nokia phone. For the Pixel 4a, it gets a subtle bump with memory capacity, sporting 6 GB of LPDDR4, whereas the Nokia 7.1 only gets 4 GB. As for permanent storage, the Pixel 4a gets a massive 128 GB on all of its budget models, and the Nokia, it doesn't have as much permanent storage, but it does have the ability to have SD cards installed for expanded storage. I will be enjoying the bump in battery capacity with the Google Pixel 4a. It does have a 3140 mAh battery, which also supports fast charging with the provided 18-watt USB-C wall wart. Now, the main selling point, in my opinion, for the Google Pixel 4a is going to be its camera solution. The front-facing camera is going to have a 12.2 megapixel sensor, and the rear-facing camera is going to have an 8 megapixel sensor. Though we are losing one of the lenses when compared to the Nokia phone with only a single lens solution, the Google Pixel 4a does have a superior image processing pipeline, which is going to be able to allow you to record 4K 30 FPS videos, and heck, even 1080p at 120 FPS. So for all you budding content creators that are looking for some slow-mo footage, this is a really good solution as compared to previous generation bargain phones. Physically, both devices really are kind of the same size. The Nokia phone is a millimeter or two taller and wider, and the building materials of the Nokia phone are substantially heavier. So the Google phone is pretty light, and I can actually appreciate Google going with the all-plastic design because most people are going to be putting this inside of a case anyways to keep it, pristine and to avoid any warranty situations. So I think saving cost there was a really good choice, and to be honest, it feels really good in the hand. Even with the decreased form factor, I think the Google phone manages to squeeze in the same size, screen that the Nokia phone has, and it's got a higher PPI than the older phones. It's got a larger aspect ratio, and to be honest, the screen looks so good, I can look completely past the little hole punch they have in there for the camera, so it's a pretty decent screen. The Pixel's buttons are crisp, there's an audible click with the volume rocker, and on the back there is a fingerprint sensor. I do wish it was a little more pronounced though, because without a case, you can easily miss it, but once you get a plastic enclosure on this thing, it's very intuitive to put your finger in that spot. Audio is a stark difference for both of these phones. The only similarity here is they've both got the 3.5 millimeter jack at the top, which is nice, but the Google Pixel 4a does have dual stereo speaker ports, so you've got dual firing going on. But I did notice that once you have the volume up high enough, you can actually feel the back of the case rumbling. So, once you put another plastic case around it, you can't, that problem's solved. But I did notice it whenever I was doing my initial testing. Given the youth of the Pixel 4a, it's going to have better I/O all around. It does support Bluetooth 5.1. I could definitely tell that my Bluetooth connections were more reliable and connecting faster with, wireless headphones. I think I drive a Chevy car and a Honda. Both of those connected to Bluetooth just fine. And I also noticed that in the spec sheet, they list that this bottom port, USB 3.1. So that's a whole generation faster than on the Nokia phone. So if you're gonna do any file transfers, that's kind of nice. Physically speaking, the Google Pixel 4a it's not hiding that it's a budget phone. The all plastic enclosure clearly shows that they're trying to save cost in order to smash as much performance into this. And I'm really optimistic to see how well it performs against my old phone, as well as some of the top tier flagships on the market these days. So let's see what some of the performance looks like. Let's cut to the chase. If you guys follow my channel, you know I love to benchmark things and see how fast different pieces of tech can complete tests. And I don't really know what all benchmarks are out there for cell phones, but we did run Geekbench 5 as well as the 3D Mark mobile version. And to cut to the chase, the Google Pixel 4a is practically twice as fast as our old Nokia 7.1. With the CPU computation tests with Geekbench, there were even some tests that were getting close to 3 times the performance compared to the old Nokia phone. And I'm not a mobile gamer by any stretch, but getting double the performance from 3D Mark, it just shows that this little bitty phone, this budget-minded unit, is clearly capable of some pretty impressive things. Now, I can't really put numbers behind the usability perspective of this, but I can instantly tell you that, Instagram, TikTok, on my old phone, they used to load up really slow and took some time to load, but on the Pixel, things were really snappy, loaded up really quick. I noticed that when I was going between like sub-menus when creating videos, the Pixel 4a handled it just fine, didn't have a problem with it. Now, what's more impressive than the computational performance is the battery life. Now, I was running this phone at a full charge for about 18 hours, which is really close to the full day quote that they have in the marketing material. And, that included, sleep time, which was about 6 hours or so. But I was rocking, screen time of 6 to 8 hours. I was including, 2.5 hours of YouTube, an hour and a half of TikTok and Instagram. So it's like I was using this as a pretty standard mobile device, and it was able to keep up throughout the day. And since I ran out of juice or I got around to 8%, I plugged in the fast charging port. It got up to 90% battery charge within 60 minutes, and I was back to consuming media. And just to put it in perspective, my old Nokia phone here, I could barely get 5 to 6 hours without having to plug this back into a mobile battery bank or something. And even that took, 2 to 3 hours to charge. So the battery on this unit, definitely used, definitely old, but just the overall performance and experience with the Google Pixel 4a has been a night and day improvement. All right, so let's talk about the camera performance with the Pixel 4a. Now, I'm not gonna talk a lot about, apertures and focal lengths. I'm gonna be mainly looking at this from a run and gun, click and shoot perspective. And the first picture we're looking at today is actually this graphics card we've got here. I'll have a review on the channel for this here in a couple weeks. But as you can see from looking at the picture, the Google Pixel 4a, when we swap it into portrait mode, it is able to easily slap in that good bokeh look where the blurred background's happening, and it post-processes it practically instantly, as opposed to the Nokia phone where with the bokeh mode, you do have to kind of mess with some sliders. You might have to refocus every once in a while. So I definitely prefer the portrait mode from the Google Pixel 4a. Now, I went ahead and went on a walk with my kids earlier this weekend, and I brought both of the phones for a side-by-side 1080p video. I'm only going to be doing the front camera portion here, and you can tell instantly that the Google phone is able to handle the dynamic range of the shadows a lot better than the Nokia phone. Heck, even the Google phone has like a built-in, focus tracking, which is really nice, really helpful if you're going to be going into high action areas. and so you don't have to keep clicking your screen to get your focus. I thought that was really nice. And it also even had some motion stabilization in there. So definitely a much better video shooting experience compared to my old dinosaur of a phone at this point. The image quality for both pictures and video, drastically better with the Google phone, and I can clearly say it's superior. The only downside I saw with this was the processing that was happening was definitely stressful for the CPU. I even got some warning messages saying that the processor was too hot, so it wasn't going to provide all the solutions. But guys, it's 105 degrees out here in the summer, and take it for what it's worth. Your mileage may vary. Even with that said, the phone behaved perfectly, and I can't say much bad about the camera experience with the Google Pixel 4a. Now, I'm not going to dive too much into the software that's running on both of these phones. Obviously, they're both running pretty standard images of Android. I think this one's got Android 10, the Google Pixel, and it's going to have, I think, up to 3 years of support, which is really nice. The downside is I really don't like the move to gestures on the phone. The Nokia phone, there was a dedicated spot on the screen for back and home, and I constantly was finding myself, fat fingering, the home button, and I kept closing or swiping left, swiping right, and not like that. But it was different. Maybe that's something I just got to get used to, but there's not much bad to say about it. It's a pretty stock Google experience or Android experience, and people are going to instantly be throwing all sorts of mods and stuff on this due to how successful the Google phones have been in the past. So once it's lived its life, this is definitely going to get some cool stuff on it. As a consumer in the mid-ranged market, I'm just shocked with just how much technology Google is able to smush into this $350 price range. And what's even more amazing is a year and a half ago, 2018, the Nokia was a pretty decent mid-range offering. And for the same price, now in 2020, we're getting twice as much computational performance, a superior camera, superior image quality, and we're still at the same price point. So this is definitely going to keep me creating content on the go. I might even touch my toes into mobile gaming. You never know, right? But let's be honest, it's going to save me a lot of money from buying a flagship phone. That extra, $400 or $500 I could be saving from a flagship, definitely going to be throwing it into an RTX 3080 here in a couple weeks. Fingers crossed. Thank you guys for sticking to the end of the video. If you liked what you saw, let me know down below if you want me to do more cell phone content, and hit the subscribe button. We've got a crazy fourth quarter going into the end of 2020. We've got the RTX 3000 series graphics cards, big Navi. We got the 5600 XT review, motherboard reviews, all sorts of cool stuff. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you know when the videos are posted. But again, Turk Force, thanks for stopping by. We'll catch you in the next one.